Hi, amazing viewers. Welcome to Christianity over Islam with Shamoun. And on today's debate, Muslim thinks he finally refuted Shamoun and got cooked instead. Let's watch this amazing debate.
So the Quran saying the Prophet Muhammad didn't do miracles, that's actually false. The Prophet Muhammad, or the Quran, is denying specific miracles to the Meccans. You know why? Because the Meccans were asking for miracles, and even if the Prophet Muhammad did those miracles, the Meccans still wouldn't believe. Like, I believe in the New Testament, Jesus says, no sign shall be given to you except, the sign of Jonah, the Gospel of Matthew chapter 12, I don't know the references. Even John the Baptist didn't do miracles, and the Jews were asking Jesus to do a miracle, and he said, no signs will be given to you. He was frustrated with the Jews too. So the Quran is not saying the Prophet Muhammad can never do miracles. That's not what he's saying. The Quran is not saying Prophet Muhammad's only a warner. He can't do miracles. The Quran is denying specific miracles to the Meccans, because even if Prophet Muhammad did those miracles, they still wouldn't believe. So as for specific miracles, I'll just give two to save time. The Quran chapter 54 and Tafsir ibn Abbas, which is earlier than Tafsir ibn Kathir and things like that. According to Quran chapter 54, Prophet Muhammad split the moon in half. The second miracle Prophet Muhammad did was he healed people. According to Ibn Kathir's biography, Prophet Muhammad increased Abu Huraira's memory in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. Prophet Muhammad had water coming out of his hands in Sahih Bukhari, and Prophet Muhammad was able to multiply food in Sahih Muslim.
Let me address it. Number one, when you said that John the Baptist didn't do any miracles, remember, that's not our criterion. I even stated, I want everyone to hear, I actually made it clear that according to Deuteronomy 13, fulfilled prophecy and miracles are no proof that a person's a true prophet sent by God. So no one made an argument that John the Baptist is a true prophet or a false prophet because of miracles or lack thereof. So when you give me a criterion, see, Muhammad is a true prophet, he did miracles, and say, well, see, John didn't do miracles and he's still a true prophet. As far as I'm concerned and David's concerned, that's not the argument that we're making for the validity of John the Baptist. That's first of all. So that's not our criterion, that's yours. Secondly, even though Jesus said no sign will be given to this adulterous generation except the sign of Jonah, even then he's saying they're going to receive a sign. Read it, Matthew 16, verse 1 and 2. And he said that after giving them plenty of signs. He had already done dozens of miracles. The disciples did dozens of miracles in the name of Jesus. He didn't say no sign will be given. He goes, in spite of all the signs I've given you, you're going to get one final sign. One more. No other sign but this, the sign of Jonah. And then he explains what it means. So it's ironic you're appealing to Jesus, who did dozens of miracles in front of eyewitnesses, even hostile witnesses. So did his disciples. And even that comment assumes he will do a miracle. No sign shall be given except. So he didn't say no sign altogether, end of story, period. No sign except this final sign, it'll be over for you. So that's Jesus saying, I've given you enough signs, you still reject, and I'm going to give you a final one and game over. But then when you say that the Quran, this is what you said the Quran is denying specific miracles that the unbelievers asked of Muhammad. That is true for some of the verses, but that's not true for all of the verses. So I'm going to say you're again mistaken, because the Quran speaks in generalities. They're asking, why hasn't he done any sign, period? And they don't qualify it. For example, chapter 17, verse 59. I'm going to give you, and then I'm going to read Muhammad Assad, but you may reject him. But the problem is, the evidence is on the side of Muhammad Assad, because he's faithful to the Quran, whereas later tradition is trying to make Muhammad into a Superman comparable to Jesus. Little do they realize that's another weapon in the hands of unbelievers to show that the hadiths contradict the Quran. They're embellished and cannot be trusted in those areas. Chapter 17, verse 59. Nothing prevented us from sending the signs, but that the ancients cried lies to them. We brought Thamud, the she-camel, visible, but they did her wrong. And we do not send the signs except to frighten. Now notice, it didn't say, we didn't send the specific signs they asked. We didn't send signs generally. We didn't send any sign, period. Not just the specific ones you asked. And here's the excuse, because they rejected them before, so you're going to reject them too. Well, I can say the same thing. Itisham, I'm a prophet, and I won't give you a miracle, because what's the point? Even if I did a miracle to prove I'm a prophet, you'll reject it. So therefore, I won't do a miracle. It's a waste of time, but still believe me, I'm a prophet. That's a very terrible, lame excuse on the part of Muhammad. Now, chapter 13, verse 27. The unbelievers say, why has a sign not been sent down upon him from his Lord? They didn't say a specific sign, a general sign. How come no sign from your Lord? They didn't say this specific sign. So you're taking select verses where they did ask for specific signs and ignoring the plethora of references where they're asking for a sign in general, just any sign, period. And what's the response? doesn't say, we already sent you plenty of signs. What are you talking about? No, here's the response. The unbelievers say, why has a sign not been sent down upon him from his Lord? Say, God leads astray whomsoever he wills, and he guides to him all who are penitent. Now, let me read Muhammad Assad, because then I have a question about the splitting of the moon, because you mentioned 54 verse 5. Here's what Muhammad Assad says, page 427. This highly elliptic sentence has a fundamental bearing on the purpose of the Quran as a whole. In many places, the Quran stresses the fact that the Prophet Muhammad, despite his being the last and greatest of God's apostles, was not empowered to perform miracles similar to those which the earlier prophets are said to have reinforced their verbal messages. His only miracle was and is the Quran itself. A message perfect in its lucidity and ethical comprehensiveness, destined for all times and all stages of human development. So Muhammad Assad, who converted to Islam, who translated the Quran from Arabic English, so he was a scholar, says the repeated message of the Quran, he did no miracles, especially like those of the prophets before him. The only miracle is the Quran, which means these hadiths are contradicting the Quran. And if you're a good Muslim, anytime a hadith contradicts the Quran, the hadith go, not the Quran. So now, can you open up chapter 54, verse 1? Show me in that passage where it says that the moon was split because of Muhammad being asked to show a sign. When it says the hour has come, it's talking about the day of judgment. Can you read that for us? Or you want me to read it? But I want you to read it.
So regarding Mark chapter 8, verse 13 through Mark chapter 8, verse 11 to 13, Jesus, hang on one second here. All right, Jesus says, the Pharisees came and began to question Jesus. To test him, they asked for a sign from heaven. He sighed deeply and said, why does this generation ask for a miraculous sign? I tell you the truth, no sign have been given to it. So according to the commentary, and I'll get to your verses real quick after this, it says they're not looking simply for an earthly miracle, but a dramatic sign from heaven, for something, for Elijah's fire in heaven. So even the people of Jesus' day would persist in asking Jesus for a miracle, even after he performed several miracles, such as raising the dead back to life, healing the blind, and things like that. As for the Quran, chapter 17, verse 79, again, this refers to sending the signs the Quraysh specifically asked for, just how the Talmud specifically asked for the she-camel. Tafsir al-Qurtubi, God did not send it to them. So Tafsir al-Qurtubi predates your Muhammad Assad stuff. God did not send it to them as a mercy, because God knows that if he did send the signs, they would still disbelieve. As for the Quran, chapter 54, what did you say, Sam? What did you say about
I can hear you. I said 54 verse 1. I said I was going to read Yusuf Ali was going to read a set. Where does it say that this is something Muhammad did when it says the hour has drawn nigh? What hour?
So the Quran chapter 54, it's talking about the splitting of the moon, because according to Tafsir ibn Kathir, Tafsir ibn Abbas, the Hadith literature, Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, etc., we believe that the Prophet Muhammad split the moon because of the Quran chapter 54. So the context of the Quran 54 is not talking about the end of the world, the day of judgment day. It's talking about that specific time Prophet Muhammad split the moon and brought it back according to the earliest Muslim literature. So that's the correct context of it. And the Quran, the Hadith did not come 200 years later. It was written during the times of the companions and things like that. So it's talking about...
This is the place where this video get more interesting. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do it to subscribe. Let's keep watching this video.
That specific time. It's not talking about the day of judgment times.
Matthew 16, verse 1 and 2, that's when he says, no sign shall be given to this wicked adulterous generation. But if you go back to Matthew 12, 37 to 41, he says, no sign shall be given this adulterous generation except the sign of Jonah. He had already done dozens of signs, and he said they will be given a sign, and the final sign will be his resurrection. So Jesus already gave ample signs and proofs to show them they have no excuse for rejecting him, which is unlike what we find in the case of Muhammad. Secondly, it's not a matter of proximity, because Muhammad Assad is much later in time, and therefore Qurtubi is earlier, and then somehow that means that Qurtubi is more reliable, because it's Sham. You're contradicting yourself, because Ibn Ishaq, who's even closer to the time of Muhammad than Qurtubi, says things about Muhammad that you reject. For example, you said about the satanic verses, and I want everyone to hear what you said. I know Ibn Ishaq mentions the satanic verses. I know Tabari does, but they are weak. So now it's like you want to have your cake and eat it too. You want to go with Qurtubi when it comes to miracles and reject Assad because Qurtubi is closer, and yet Ibn Ishaq, who's even closer to time Muhammad, you still question, you still doubt, and you reject the satanic verses, even though it comes from Ibn Ishaq, who's way earlier than Qurtubi. So what method are you using to determine historicity. It seems like your method is, if it suits my purpose, I'll quote it. If it refutes my purpose and my aim and exposes Muhammad as a false prophet, no matter how close, I'll reject it. You can't have your cake and eat it too, at Shamoun. Stick with a method, be consistent so we can apply it. But I want everyone to hear this. I want everyone to hear it. Qurtubi, who's closer than Asad, says Muhammad did miracles. Asad is later. Well, Ibn Ishaq is even closer than Qurtubi, and so is Tabari, and both of them affirm your prophet recited satanic verses inspired by Satan to praise gods and goddesses. But you're going to say they're weak, they're fabricated, they're inauthentic, so you really don't care about proximity. You don't really care how close a source is, because if a source is damning, no matter how close is it, you're going to reject it. So let's come back to now Muhammad Asad. It's not that Muhammad Asad is later. Muhammad is using the Quran to determine what later traditions say. So Muhammad Asad, unlike Qurtubi, is faithful to the Quran because the Quran repeatedly says no miracles in general, not simply rejecting specific miracles. So Asad is right because he's going with the Quran. Qurtubi, though earlier than Asad, is wrong because he's contradicting the Quran. You see how it works? Asad is not that naive. He wasn't that stupid, because he's since deceased. He realizes if the Quran says something black and white, I don't care what other sources say, how closer they are to the Quran. They're contradicting the Quran. They can't be right unless the Quran is wrong. So you see the method I'm using? I'm using the method of Muhammad Asad. If the Quran says black and white, no miracles, you can give me Ibn Ishaq and Tabari and Qurtubi. You can give them all saying he did miracles. The Quran trumps them unless you want to say that the son of Muhammad trumps the Quran, if that is the son of Muhammad. Finally, it is the future in chapter 54, verse 1. But before I get to that, let me read another passage. This passage proves he couldn't do miracles. And at Shamoun, I hope you understand the argument. Because if you show me he did miracles, the Quran is a lie. Stop being a Muslim. Here's, I want to read this. Chapter 29, verses 48 to 51. I want you to read what the Quran says, why there can't be miracles except the Quran. The Quran says there can't be any miracle. Specific, can't be. Here why. Not before this didst thou recite any book. Before this, you didn't recite a book or inscribe it with your hand. For then those who followed falsehood would have doubted. No, rather it is signs, meaning the Quran is signs, clear signs, in the breasts of those who have been given knowledge, meaning those who recite it. And none deny our signs but evildoers. Now watch this. They say, why have signs not been sent down upon him from his Lord? Notice again, it's general. You keep going to the verses that refer to specific miracles they ask. Here it's general. Why not signs in general? Any sign given to him. Muhammad didn't respond the way you would like him to respond. He didn't say, many signs were already given. You still don't believe. Here's the answer. Say, the signs are only with Allah, and I'm only a plain warner. What? Is this not sufficient for them, that we have sent down upon you the book that is recited to them? Surely in it is a mercy and a reminder to people who believe. So notice Muhammad's response, which is not your response, not Qurtubi's response, not Tabari's response. Why aren't there any signs given to you? Now, didn't ask for specific, so don't make it specific, it's general. And he says, well, the signs are with my Lord, my God, but I'm only a plain warner, and besides, this Quran is the sufficient miracle. Shamoun, now you're in a dilemma. If you show me another miracle to confirm the Quran, you prove Muhammad was wrong. The Quran is not sufficient, it's insufficient, so it needs other miracles to back it up. But if it needs other miracles, then the Quran lied right here, so you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Welcome back. Hope you've learned from this amazing video. Please do it to like, share to your loved ones, especially your Muslim friends that need to find out this truth. This Muslim guy came to prove to Sam that since John the Baptist did not did any miracle in the Bible, this means that prophet is real. And Jesus said that on the last day there will be no sign shown to the generation, only the sign of Jonah. And Sam goes forward and explained to him that if he said John the Baptist did not do any miracle, and Sam told him that means, and Jesus did a lot of miracle while he was on earth. And Sam go forward and showed him the reason why the Bible speaks that on the last day there will be no sign, only the sign of Jonah, was because men that will not be allowed, that will not carry or answer the call of God at that particular time, they will pass through what Jonah passed through in the Old Testament. And Sam explained to him, Jesus has already performed so many miracles, so many things. That's why he said in the book of Matthew, Jesus said on the last day, if we can understand when the cloud is gathered and rain want to fall, so how can't we understand the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ? And Sam explained to him in his own prophet Muhammad, and showed him in the Quran where his followers was asking him and was yelling at him, telling him to show them proof about their God. And the prophet did not have any miracle or any proof to show, but rather to tell them that the only proof that he has for them is the Quran. Which some say this Quran that is written is just a lifestyle of Muhammad's life that was written, because it was not corresponding with the things that was written inside the hadith. That is, if anyone that is an Islam studying just the Quran alone, that means he's studying the life and the pattern of Muhammad. And Psalms goes forward and showed him in the Quran where it was written that his prophet Muhammad studied the satanic world and even worshipped Satan while he was on earth before he passed out. Hope you've learned from this amazing video. Please do it to like, subscribe to our YouTube channels, and share to your loved ones, especially your Muslim friends that haven't found out this truth about their prophet.